Hi guys, today we are gonna compare the iPhone 12 camera to the iPhone 14 Pro camera. Is it really worth the upgrade? Let's find out.
This shot really shows what the 3x on the iPhone 14 Pro is capable of, and the 12 Pro who crops in instead. This is the front-facing camera, and you can see much more detail on the left with the iPhone 14 Pro. It shows much more contrast, and the 12 looks a little bit more flat and cold. 1x, it has more contrast and performs better with the HDR. This is the 2x, which the 14 Pro crops in, and it still looks very good. But here is the 3x, which brings out even more detail. You can start to see that the 12 is struggling here and over sharpening some objects. And here's a 5x photo to show you further in of the details that the 14 Pro captures. Here's the main cameras on the two phones, and they look very similar at first glance, but when you zoom in, you can see that the 14 Pro has slightly more detail. In this shot, the iPhone 12 Pro is a little bit over sharpening, and the 14 Pro preserves the details between the tree and the background. These shots again look very similar, but when you zoom in a little bit, you can see on the barn it shows more detail on the 14 Pro. This is an example of the HDR, which the 14 Pro has become better at. In this 2x photo, you can see that the iPhone 12 has more noise than the iPhone 14 Pro that removes a lot of noise on the cottage. This shot looks very similar. You won't even be able to tell the difference at first glance. But yeah, the iPhone 14 Pro does a slightly better job in the HDR process. This shot shows the night mode on the ultra-wide camera, and this is how they perform on the 1x camera, 2x camera, and finally the 3x camera, which of course the iPhone 14 Pro is much better at. Here's a shot with the main cameras on both phones, and here's the 2x. And here's the 3x, but without the telephoto lens on the 14 Pro. So here you can see what the 48 megapixel will do instead of the 12 megapixel lens on the 12. It brings out more clearness in the text, and you will be able to read it much easier. And here's a photo of my cat in the portrait mode on both main cameras, and these look very similar, but if you zoom in, you can as usually see a little bit more clearness in the 14 Pro. And this is the final image that I took in a pitch black room. You can really see that the iPhone 14 Pro is kicking here, because you can see much more detail on the camera and the floor, and as well as other areas in the room. So yeah, that was the image comparison.
Alright, so my final conclusion with these is that the 12 has a really solid camera, but the 14 Pro does really good. I don't think you should wait for the 15 if you are an everyday photographer, because the 14 Pro has a really solid camera, but the 12 camera is good enough for you who don't shoot like every day or don't care about the quality difference. So that's my conclusion. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. By the way, if you want to see my video comparison with these two phones, I will link the video down below, or you can click up here. And that video is up on my other channel, so go subscribe to it. I would be very thankful for that. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.